This is Secret America.
Welcome, everybody. I am Jack Danger along with Jay Gatling, and we learned some interesting stuff today, Jay. I'm talking people that are backstabbing Trump inside his own staff. And it's funny because we talked about this many times, that he's got to have, there's deep state actors everywhere. So you've got to know, you've got to know that he's got some in his staff. You've got to know he's probably got some in his cabinet. He's got some everywhere. But before we get going, I want to just mention our sponsor real quick, and that is maxassociates.etsy.com. They are the best place to find USA Pride gifts and patriotic apparel. I actually want to show you some of the new stuff that they've got, and it's really cool stuff, Jay. Check this out. So you got We the People, 1776 to 2026. It says 250 years and counting. That is an awesome shirt right there, man. That is a cool shirt. Let's see. We got the mug here. Proud veteran, once a warrior, always a warrior. That's awesome. I gotta say, I really like that one as well. Let's see here. Unapologetically patriotic. That's pretty cool. That is nice. I like that one. What else do we got here? Freedom over fear. That's a good one. Freedom over fear. And then we've got a couple of hats. We've got the We the People, 1776 to 2026. That's awesome. That is an awesome hat. And then we've also got America First. America First. My favorite one, though, is this one right here, because it is the 250th anniversary of the United States. I mean, it's coming up very soon, shortly, in less than 2 months. Now is the time. If you want to purchase something patriotic, don't go to another place, because here you're going to get a great deal. You're not going to get a great deal elsewhere. Here you can get not only a great deal, but you can get excellent products, stuff that's not just generic BS. They are the best place to get USA Pride gifts and patriotic apparel. Tell them about the deal, Jay.
The deal is this. It's 20% off anything over $20 and free shipping throughout the United States. You have the 250th anniversary of our country coming up July 4th, less than 2 months away, as Jack said. And even before that, Father's Day. I mean, right now is the time. You go on maxassociates.etsy.com, get yourself some great stuff, get your father some great stuff, for everybody, get the whole family great stuff, because what better to wear than this stuff during the celebration of 250 years of the United States? It doesn't get any better than this. The deal is fantastic. Jack just showed you so many cool things. It speaks to who you are. It's top quality. It's made in America. Can't go wrong.
That's the best part. You know, it ships anywhere. If you live in America, you can't get better than that, because it is the 250th anniversary and it ships anywhere in America. It ships to you for free. All right, guys. We talked about before we did that, we talked about how Donald Trump has staffers inside his White House and inside his cabinet and everywhere that are deep state actors. So I want to show you our thumbnail that we had Eli make today. This is awesome. Okay. It's me. I'm Fred. Jay is Shaggy. Okay. On the left side, that is Benjamin Elstein. He is the guy that is the deep state operative right now that is in Trump's staff. Now, when we pull off the mask, though, it turns out it's Gavin Newsom underneath that mask, Jay. And he says, I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for Secret America. They all think they're going to get away with it until Secret America comes knocking, Jay.
They're going to learn the hard way, apparently.
Oh, absolutely. That was awesome. But so let me show everybody this real quick, because this right here is what's going on here. Okay. What happened was James O'Keefe actually caught Benjamin Elstein Elliston, however you want to say it, in a hidden camera situation where he was actually saying, you know, we got to get rid of Trump. He says, we have to get rid of Trump. He's invincible. Nothing can stop him. And that's dangerous. Trump is a mess, a fucking madman who's fucking it up for everybody. And then he asks, are there other staffers that can know about this? He jokingly says, oh, no, they can't know. Ha ha. The funny thing is, he did not know he was on hidden camera, and now it's out there for everybody to see. So I'm going to play that video real quick, Jay, before we talk about it. I want people to hear this because you got to hear this to believe it. I mean, this is a guy, and before we get going, actually, I want to tell you what he does. All right, this is a guy who was on. Actually, let me pull. You know what I want to pull up? I want to pull up my post about it because it tells you exactly what he was on this thing. I mean, I think he was part of the Office of Management and Budget. And he is okay, here we go. Benjamin Ellistain is the senior budget analyst / funding manager at the White House. He is from the Office of Management and Budget, and he is the senior budget analyst and funding manager. That means he helps oversee the entire budget, I would assume, for the United States government. He helps oversee that as the senior funding analyst and budget coordinator or whatever the hell it said he was. Let's check this out real quick, Jay. I want everybody to take a listen to this because I can promise you it's not something you've ever heard before.
I want to get rid of Trump. Seriously, he's a mess. He's fucking it up for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. You gotta get rid of him.
Yeah.
Benjamin Ellistain claims that Trump is a dangerous madman and insists that no one can know that he feels this way.
He's a madman. And literally, he's invincible. Nothing can stop him. And that's dangerous.
Do people know how you feel about the president? No.
No, they can't know, Jay. They can't know how he feels because how he feels is insane. Apparently he's a Biden holdover he started in 2024 as a budget analyst and funding operative for the Office of Management and Budget. Now he is a White House staffer, a senior White House staffer. And like I said, he started with the Biden administration in 2024.
It's impossible to get rid of all these people at once. It's impossible.
You don't know who they are. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a hidden camera situation to reveal this guy.
Even if you vet him in the beginning, he's not going to tell you the truth. If he knows, he's not going to say the truth. He's going to lie. He wants to keep his job. And at the same time, keep his job. He wants to try to undermine the administration and try to kneecap it any way he can. So of course not. It is impossible. But yeah, I'm amazed at how many people just say this stuff though. Well, Jack, let me ask you a question. If say that was you, and somebody started coming up to you in the street or wherever you are, asking you questions about who you work for. Even if you felt that way, are you going to be dumb enough to say that to anyone?
No, that's what I don't understand. These are not people that they've catfished for months. These are people that just come up to them randomly and say, hey, do you like Trump? Yada, yada, yada. You got to think, first of all, if it's someone random, you don't want to say anything stupid. Second of all, if they're coming up and they're asking you specific questions about your job and the person you work for, you don't want to say anything stupid. You got to know cameras are everywhere. And odds are, with your particular position, you should know you are a White House staffer. You should know that there are going to be people that try to get you saying this or that. I mean, the guy must be a moron. But it's not just him. This happens to all these people, CEOs of companies, cabinet members. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like these people are dying to say this stuff.
Yeah, like when I was working, unless it was somebody I knew and I trusted, I wasn't bad-mouthing my department. Like, I just wasn't doing it. It was obviously, if it was somebody you knew, yeah, you say whatever you want, but, in person. But if it was some rando who came up to me in a bar or in a restaurant and said, hey, what is going on? What do you do? Oh, I do. Oh, what do you think about? Yeah, I'm not going out and I'm not bashing anybody that I work with or work for. Especially,
I'll tell you why he does it though.
I don't get it.
It's usually just like with the gay men you see, just like with the straight men. It's usually a beautiful gay man or a beautiful woman that you think you have a shot with. If a man thinks he's going to get sex from someone, he will say whatever that he thinks she wants to hear. He will tell the truth about his whole life if he thinks he's going to hit it.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Look, people get honeypotted all the time. That's true.
That's exactly what this is.
But in this case, what Rainey said, what you said is true. If they worked with Obama and Biden, chances are they'll like him. That's true. The problem is it's impossible to root them all out. You won't have a functioning government if you rule all these people out. You just can't. You can, and you would have to do it over time. You can't just get rid of everybody all at once. It's just impossible. And you're going to have this problem, especially when it comes to President Trump, where people are they hate him more than they either like or love our country. If they even like the country at all, they hate him that much that they will try to absolutely sink the country if it means sinking him. That's what we have going on here. It's pretty scary, but how many more like him? That's only one. And there's only, James O'Keefe can't be everywhere all the time exposing these people. So it's an ongoing problem. And when people complain, oh, this isn't getting done, this isn't getting done, why is it taking so long for this? There's your answer. That's part of your answer right there. We know part of it is Congress. We know part of it's John Thune, and it's a big part of it. But when it comes to certain things like working its way through the gears of bureaucracy, people like that, they can gum it up real good.
Well, believe it or not, those people, the mid-level bureaucrats, the forever employees, the ones that you cannot fire, and there are employees that even the president cannot fire, those mid-level bureaucrats are the ones that run the country. They're the ones that shape the policy. They're the ones that allow things to even get to committees. They are the ones that run everything, if you want the God's honest truth. And the reason they run everything is because they have all the power, knowing they can't be fired. They cannot be fired. You can look that up. I forget the name of it, the overall name of it, but they cannot be fired. You can look that up. And that is why they're in this situation, is because there's got to be a way to change that. See, I understand they made that because they wanted people to have job security. They didn't want them to think, oh, every 4 years a new president comes in, I could be fired. But now those people are so entrenched. They're like Supreme Court justices. They cannot be fired for any reason. And it doesn't make any sense, Jay. But I'll tell you one thing. The reason that there's so much deep state actors is because of that. I want you to see something here. All right, this right here is another post that I made. I'm going to pull this up in just a second, but look at this. It's a bombshell confession caught on camera. The ex-CIA director John Brennan bragged that the deep state is still alive and well. He says, and by the way, he says there's still a legion. And by the way, his use of the word legion was really, really interesting here. He said there's still a legion of professionals in law enforcement community, in law enforcement environment, Department of Justice, as well as the CIA and other places, the ones who are refusing to follow politically motivated prosecutions, refusing to support any type of political activities on the part of the Trump administration that are inconsistent with authorities and responsibilities. Basically, what he's saying is the deep state is alive and well. He used the word legion. Jay, use the word legion. I want everybody real quick.
That means a lot.
Oh, yeah. He used the word legion. I want everybody real quick. I'm going to play this for you because I want everybody to hear this. This is very interesting right here. Let me pull this off. All right, take a listen.
Jay and the FBI into political arms of his political operation. What still exists in the system to slow that down?
I think, as Liz mentioned, there's still a legion of professionals in the law.
Real quick, I want to go back. Listen to what she says. She says the president, the president is a political position, and she says who exists in there, or what exists in the community that can stop his political agendas, which is what is something we voted for and everything that we're supposed to do. Who can stop his political agenda that's still in his administration?
He has succeeded largely in turning DOJ and the FBI into political arms of his political operation. What still exists in the system to slow that down?
I think, as Liz mentioned, there's still a legion of professionals in the law enforcement environment, Department of Justice, as well as the CIA and other places, the ones who are refusing to follow politically motivated prosecutions, those who are refusing to support any type of political activities on the part of the Trump administration that are inconsistent with the authorities, the responsibilities of the intelligence community, law enforcement community, and Department of Justice.
That right there, he literally said on live television that there is a legion of people, the deep state is what he's saying, and that's what it is. It's the deep state. There is a cabal of deep state actors that are in Trump's administration, holdovers from, previous administrations, that are going to do whatever they can to stop him. See Peter Strzok.
Absolutely. We remember him with the faces he was making, him, Lisa Page. And,
and then the text, it's insurance. Yeah. We're going to stop Trump no matter what. I got insurance on him.
Yeah, and they got paid over $1 million a piece, I think, by the Biden administration because somehow they were wronged. I mean, are you kidding me? What John Brennan is saying, and John Brennan's a communist. John Brennan is an admitted communist. I can read you something in a minute about him. Basically, it makes you laugh. Again, the Democrats are the party of deflection, projection, hypocrisy, and double standards. Right there, the projection is just incredible. You're talking about the political arm of the FBI. Wait a minute. During what administration was the FBI a political arm? The biggest political arm we've ever seen? That was under Biden, when they basically arrested anybody who stepped onto Capitol grounds during January 6th. Okay? People were sent to gulags because they walked up to a protest. Or
American citizens were sent to gulags.
American citizens, and walked into the Capitol being escorted by the Capitol Police. Political arm, the FBI. Are you out of your mind? And then politically motivated prosecutions. Jack, these people arrested President Trump. They literally arrested him when he was the front runner to take on Joe Biden. It is mind-boggling. Nicole Wallace, she's a disgusting individual. That's who was interviewing John Brennan. Jack, can I read you just something real quick about John Brennan so everybody understands who he is? John Brennan.
Go ahead.
In 2016, he admitted, all right, during a 1980 CIA polygraph, okay, to voting for Gus Hall, a Communist Party USA candidate in the 1976 presidential election as a college student. He called it an indiscretion and a protest against the two-party system and the Watergate-era partisanship. I don't care what he called it. Anybody who ever voted for a communist should never be allowed to serve in the government of the United States, ever. I don't care if they're the janitor. They should not be allowed
on the CIA director. That is incredible. And Jay, I wanted to say, damn, you know what's funny? Never mind. It's just he was the CIA director that they knew voted for a communist back then, and he still became the CIA director. And now he's telling you that the deep state is all around you, and Trump. The bad part is you don't know who they are until they show themselves, like this guy did on camera. But see, the thing is, Jay, they don't. The difference between Trump and the Biden era and the Obama era, the left no longer has any shame or cares what anybody says, doesn't worry about the pressure, doesn't worry about the voters, anything. Trump, and I've said this many times, now that it's Trump's last term, he should be that way. Go ahead and arrest these people. Who cares if they say you're prosecuting your political opponent? Arrest them anyway. In fact, you know what? Arrest your political opponent. Go out there and arrest Tim Walz. Go out there, arrest Ilhan Omar. Take the DOJ, have them arrest these people. Perk walk them. Get Kathy Hochul. Get Zohran Mamdani. Get Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom. Arrest every single one of these people. Have them handcuffed, put in the back of the police car, taken to the police station, brought in, handcuffs behind their back, and mug shots, the whole nine. Even if it's dismissed, who cares? They didn't care about you. They knew it wasn't going to sit on Trump. They knew that wasn't going to happen, but they wanted what they got, the mugshot. And that's all we want, the perp walk. We know most of this stuff's not going to stick. Arrest them anyway. You don't have to worry about re-election. You don't have to worry about poll numbers. Be like the left. Don't care. Shame, Jay. Shame used to have people resign like a Richard Nixon. Shame used to have people resign from their positions. Now they will stay until they are found guilty and kicked out like a Bob Mendez. The left no longer has any shame. So you cannot shame them into doing something anymore. So that's the way, since Trump no longer has any more political aspirations, now is the time to not care about anything, have no shame, arrest every single one. I would like for him to walk into the House, walk into the Congress, have every single congressman arrested that was part of January 6th, every single congressman arrested that was part of any of these operations. I mean, I don't care if you arrest half the House and half the Senate.
Well, the 2 fake impeachments, we know a lot of stuff went on there that was way under that. It was not above board. We know this. And here's the thing. Everybody you mentioned, I'm sure. And again, we didn't make these rules. They did. It was find me the man. I'll find, show me the man. I'll find you the crime. That's what it was with President Trump. Hey, show me the woman or show me the man and let's find the crimes. Because I guarantee you, you can dig into these people's lives and find something, no matter how stupid or trivial it might be, that they did wrong, that you could put them through hell for, like they did for him when they had to actually take misdemeanors that that I think the statute of limitations ran out on and turn them into felonies somehow to get a 34 felony count where the jury didn't even know what the hell they were adjudicating over. That basically would happen. So now they get to call President Trump a felon. They did the same thing in Georgia when they got their mugshot. Hey, the process is the punishment. Put them through the process at the very least, because I guarantee you, you could find something on every one of these people that they did wrong and throw in J.B. Pritzker.
I can tell you exactly what they did wrong. Why is nobody being arrested for treason, Jay? Obama spied on his campaign. Hillary Clinton actually paid for a fake dossier, actual fake intelligence to abuse the FISA courts to be able to spy on him. Why are they not arrested for treason? Why are the people that set up, like a Nancy Pelosi that set up January 6th? Why are the people in the 2 impeachments that were clearly fake? Why are none of these people arrested for treason? That is exactly why they will continue to do it. And Jay, that's also why they don't mind saying it anymore. They don't care if they say, hey, we have deep state operatives, because if they're not going to be held accountable, it doesn't matter. There's no point in hiding. And if Trump, this is our only chance. People don't realize Trump has a finite amount of time left, 2.5 years left maximum, and he's already going to be 80 years old. So who knows if he even makes it the 2.5 years. That's why, guys, we have got to get shit done now. If you want to win the midterms, you have to start arresting people now.
Listen, but we said John Brennan is comfortable going on there and saying that because nothing's happened.
Exactly.
He's still on TV. He's not behind bars.
Nope.
All right. He's not even on bail. He's just free. He's a free man, free as a bird, right?
Exactly.
Now, when you talk about treason, right, they'll say that's a war thing. Now, sedition. And now that sedition's interesting because I'm looking at overthrow, put down, or destroy the U.S. government by force, or oppose the government authority by force, or use force to block or delay any U.S. law. Interesting. Or force to seize U.S. property. Now, Jack, I'm going to play their game. What's the definition of force? Now, to me, this is force. They're using the force of the bureaucracy to stall President Trump's agenda, the agenda that 77 million people voted for, the agenda that he won the Electoral College, and and by the way, the popular vote this time, which every swing state voted for. So that to me is force. They're using people like the one that O'Keefe just exposed, the one that Brennan says, the legion of people. That's force. They're using the force that they have within a bureaucracy to stall the U.S. government, to stall the agenda of the willfully elected president of the United States. So sedition, hey, I absolutely say go for that one. Treason, they're always going to come back with you and say, no, it has to be during wartime, or treason's a little tougher of a definition to get past.
No, it's not tough as a definition at all, because treason is the crime of betraying one's country, typically by attempting to overthrow its government, just like they did with Trump with the fake impeachments, the dossier, and the spying on his campaign, levying war against it, or aiding its enemies, which is actually, if you want to, that's exactly what they're doing. When they're trying to remove Trump, it aids their enemies. It aids America's enemies. But the main key ingredient there is a crime. It's a crime where you betray your country by attempting to overthrow its government. That is exactly what they are doing, right? I mean, it requires 2 witnesses to the same overt act, and treason is the only crime that's actually defined, by the Constitution. And, the lady that was just arrested for spilling out propaganda, the mayor of Arcadia, California, who was just arrested for spilling out propaganda for the CCP, she was actually arrested by taking orders from the CCP. The charge she pled to, which was, aiding the Chinese for whatever, she maximum imprisonment 10 years. She's probably going to get probation for literally being a spy for the Chinese.
No, that she should be treated accordingly, and we know what that is. We know what the penalty is, but it'll never happen. And you're seeing it all the time with what's going on in Iran, and whether people agree with it or disagree with it. We have literally our media and people in Congress, politicians, spewing Iranian propaganda, literally spewing Iranian propaganda to undermine what we're doing. And you don't have to agree with it, but you can't take the side of Iran. That is treason.
But
that's
there's
treason.
nothing going. I mean, these people committed actual treason by trying to overthrow the government. They actually impeached him on fake charges. They arrested him on charges they knew wouldn't stick. And they even, the most egregious thing was they actually used a fake Russian dossier, which means they aided the enemy by using a fake Russian dossier, and they used it to overthrow Trump's campaign to not make him president. That's overthrowing the government and aiding the enemy. Obama and Hillary Clinton, at the very least, should be in prison for treason, which is a death penalty case. But Jay, this is never going to stop. See, what people don't understand, as soon as Trump leaves, this is going to go right back to the way it was. Right back to, if J.D. Vance or whoever doesn't get in, it's going to go right back to all Trump supporters being persecuted. Actually, Jay, that brings me up to a new thing I wanted to talk about. Actually, I actually put out a post a couple of days ago that talks about the threats that everybody was, all the left anyway, the politicians were doing against Trump supporters. It's over the last few years, just doing it, saying when they get back in power, and I want to try to find that, because there's an accountability agenda. There's a whole bunch of things. It's really crazy. Okay, here it is. Actually, I'm gonna read it to you. Okay.
Good.
It says, warning, they will make you an enemy of the state. For years, Americans were called crazy for warning that political elites wanted to punish, blacklist, silence, investigate, and financially destroy Trump supporters and anyone associated with the America First movement. Now, many of them are saying it out loud. Why? Because they know nothing will happen to them. They know they can say it out loud and then follow through with it and do it, and nothing will happen to them. One politician warns Trump supporters to walk lightly or we will make you pay. That was Cynthia Johnson. Another talks about targeting, investigating, and possibly jailing private citizens connected to Trump. That was Eric Swalwell. Others openly discuss accountability agendas. That was Robert Reich. Subpoenas, blacklists, archiving political opponents. That was AOC. And the Truth and Reconciliation commissions. That was Susan Rice. It says, not foreign enemies, not terrorists, not violent criminals, American citizens. Half the country is being portrayed as people who deserve punishment, surveillance, blacklist, investigations, financial retaliation, public humiliation, or permanent political retribution. And the most dangerous part, too many people think it's just rhetoric. It's like they've completely memory hold and forgotten what happened from 2020 to 2024. History has shown over and over that when political movements start labeling fellow citizens as enemies to be punished instead of Americans to debate with, freedom disappears fast. Believe people when they tell you who they are, because if these people regain full power after the midterms, they are openly signaling that revenge, investigations, and political punishment may become the agenda for millions of ordinary Americans who simply disagree with them politically. That should terrify every citizen, Republican, Democrat, Independent, or otherwise, Jay.
Yeah. And what did Charlie Kirk always say? When you stop debating, that's when violence happens, right? When you stop talking, they have no interest in talking.
No.
Obviously, look what they did to him. They have no
want to
interest
have violence,
in talking.
yeah.
No, they don't. They want to have violence.
They want to remove their opponents without having to go through the election process.
Well, we talked about it, right? It was a few shows ago. We said, yeah, they don't even want you. They want you to be scared to even run. They don't even want you to run. And if you run, they're going to try to eliminate you. So that's where we are. They don't even want you putting your hat in the ring. They want to run unopposed. That's basically what it comes down to. And they're using intimidation. They're using violence. And that's what their goal is. And eventually they want to have enough political capital, which means every vote, they want to have such an insurmountable voting block that it's one party rule.
Well,
and
do you
nobody
know
will,
why?
nobody will bother.
Do you know
running
how
it.
they're using the violence and everything? Representative Timberchet told us last night exactly how it's happening. For everybody that doesn't know, I'm going to pull this up real quick, Jay. For everybody that doesn't know, okay, the MK Ultra hearing has been postponed indefinitely because witnesses and congressmen may be being threatened by the deep state, the CIA, the FBI, whatever, to drop the MK Ultra investigation. Only one out of the 4 witnesses have been confirmed to want to show up. The other 3 are citing safety concerns. And then Anna Paulina Luna postpones the MK Ultra hearing. But luckily, Jay, before she did that, we were able to get a talking point from Timberchet last night. I want everybody to take a listen. This is exactly what the U.S. government, or the deep state anyway, is doing. MK Ultra never ended. It just ended up being on a mass scale. And Jay, this is why the violence is going on. Everybody take a listen.
I think these 4 lunatics that tried to kill our president, what do they all share in common? I mean, it's like Oswald, but now these guys have no internet presence. They have, some of them have international bank accounts, and they live at home, and they were conservative Christians, and all of a sudden they buy a gun and travel across the country and try to kill Donald J. Trump. Now, here's the deal on MK Ultra. Back then, they grab individuals, give them acid, brainwash them, do whatever they needed to do. Today, what they do is they send this stuff out in mass, and then they know that a certain, I forget the terminology, but a certain group of people or certain class pick up on certain words and certain emotions. Mm-hmm. And they know within reason that a few of them might react. And I think they do this in mass, so that way they can wash their hands of it. They don't know when or where it's going to happen. They just can predict that it will happen.
Exactly. They don't know when or where it's going to happen, but they can predict, Jay, that it will happen. And that's what people don't realize is what they do is they do studies, all right, like at universities. They use like Stanford and Harvard and all these other to do studies. I'm talking about the deep state, the CIA, Black Ops, things like that. They do studies on people to see what can trigger people that are susceptible to violence and easily manipulate. And what they do is they have the media. Let me tell you, Operation Mockingbird, where the CIA controls the media, feeds it propaganda to give to the masses. Operation Mockingbird and MK Ultra have been merged. They are together. Okay. What they do is they find these buzzwords and other things that these people are susceptible to, and they feed the propaganda stories to the mass media, who then distributes it en masse to everybody. And that is exactly how they know the violence is going to happen, because they've done the studies. They know who's susceptible. They know who to target, and they know what words to use. So they know it will happen. They wash their hands of it. Why? That it can't ever be brought back on them, at least not the violence, because they don't know when it's going to happen. They used to grab individuals, like you said, like Oswald, Sirhan, and then they would spend time with that individual to manipulate, to hypnotize, and to brainwash this person into doing their bidding. They no longer have to do that. Now, like I said, the MK Ultra and Mockingbird have been merged. What they do is they find these keywords, these buzzwords, these sentences, give it to the mass media. The mass media use that propaganda in their stories, and then they know, and they put the name in there of the person that they want attacked. And they know that that person is eventually going to be attacked. And since you got to think, though, Jay, if they were still doing this individually, Trump would have probably already been assassinated by now. They're doing it in mass. That's why they're not helping these individuals prepare. That's why they're being caught very easily. But I can tell you right now, if they were still doing individually, then Trump might have been assassinated by now by these people preparing them and showing them how to do it. Instead, they're doing it en masse and just hoping that one of them will do it. It's not just hoping. They know based on algorithms, based on, public behavior, that some of the people that are susceptible to violence and easily manipulated will pick up on these terms, pick up on Trump's name, and then go and try to kill him. That is exactly what they're doing with Trump, and it's exactly what they will do with others, Jay.
It makes perfect sense. It does. That's not crazy tinfoil hat crap. It makes sense. First of all, the production on that video was outstanding. Whoever did it, number one.
It was really good. It was really good.
No, well, listen, you need a great clip in order to do good production. We got the great clip because of the congressman. But
absolutely.
But that was why you're saying that. I'm thinking now they have AI that could help with this.
Oh yeah.
So now they have AI which could help them even refine this even further. And I was watching, your favorite show. I've been watching The Blacklist, and I was just watching the episode where the girl was triggered by a song. Where
Yes.
Yeah, and she would she had a twin sister, and she'd murdered the twin sister because whatever. But then she was acting as both of them, and the song
that personality became the twin sister when that song came on, because that song was playing when she killed her sister. So it was a trigger. Same thing they do with these people. Yeah.
Yeah, so exactly. So right. I mean, it's a TV show, but exactly that is real stuff that can happen.
Yeah.
It makes absolutely perfect sense what he said. How and it is interesting. Like, yeah, we can totally wash our hands with it because we didn't talk to anybody specifically. We weren't teaching we weren't teaching Sirhan. We weren't teaching or in contact with Lee Harvey Oswald. No one in the government ever actually spoke to that person. Like Lee Harvey Oswald, we know was involved with the CIA before. Sirhan, we know about that, right? But in this case, Thomas Crooks, for all we know, maybe nobody ever did actually speak to Thomas Crooks. Maybe
they don't have to anymore. That's why that's why none of them actually killed Trump, because they're not being prepared by the CIA. They're just being triggered by the CIA.
But I mean, at the same time, when it comes to Thomas Crooks, what throws me off with Thomas Crooks is how the Secret Service was not good at all during Cole Allen. We know that. We saw the video of him running through and everything else that went on.
I think it was all done on purpose, just like with Thomas Crooks.
Okay, but here's the thing. If then we have to say then yes, even though this is the operation that it's done in mass. How then do they know when, or are they just that lax all the time now, hoping that somebody's going to see the open window and use it?
Well, I can tell you, anybody that's on their payroll, they act that lax every time. Anybody that's on the CIA payroll, that's in the deep state and the black ops, they act that way during every single thing, hoping that someone will run up and do it. And then once somebody runs up and they see a good agent catch them or kill them, then they have to go help too. But until that point, they allow anything to happen that's going to happen. They allow that to go on every single time because they're on the payroll. They don't know when it's going to happen. So the best thing to do is to just be lax in everything you do, when it comes to that particular person, which is exactly what they do. If they have so the CIA and the black ops, they can pay you money. They can influence politically and help you out, or they can threaten your family. Imagine, Jay, if you're a Secret Service agent, you're the one that is responsible for Trump's life. What do? When you're gone from your house, they rearrange shit. First of all, the first thing they do is rearrange shit in your house when you're gone. You come home, things look different. They've been rearranged. It just shows you that they can get into your house. The second thing they do, if you still don't listen to them, the second thing they do when you're gone, they follow your wife. They follow your wife and your kids, just enough to scare her, not to actually do anything, but just to show you that they can get to her. If you still don't listen, then what they do then is they have somebody come up and talk to her. Whether it's at their house, the grocery store, whatever. They have somebody come up and say, tell your husband if he knows what's good for him, he'll do what we tell him to do. That is what usually gets them. But if that still doesn't get them, then eventually they break into the house in the middle of the night and put a gun to their heads and say, look, right now I can kill you and your whole family, or you can do what I say. If you don't do what I say, I'm not going to kill you. I'm just going to kill your kids and family.
How about this? When they're hiring all these DEI and they're trying, they were trying to make all of these agencies filled with incompetent people. And that's, listen, those jobs aren't for everybody. But they were
saw the Secret Service woman that couldn't get her gun.
That's what I'm saying.
On Butler, she couldn't get her gun out of the holster.
That gives them even more of a plausible deniability.
Exactly.
Say, no, we have people, but you're hiring people who don't belong in those jobs. They can't do the job.
If you want the truth, Jay, that is why the entire DEI program, the entire push for DEI was for that particular purpose. It gives the Secret Service cover. It gives the mayor of LA cover for the Pacific Palisade fires. It gives the Secret Service cover if something happens to Trump. Everything that goes on now, they can commit any crime they want, and then the DEI will be blamed for it, not them. That was the reason for the entire DEI push. If anybody wants to know the reason that there was propaganda pushed towards DEI, they don't actually think DEI is going to make, better, for better pilots or better Secret Service agents.
They know it's not.
They do it because they know that when something bad happens, they have plausible deniability.
Exactly. So that's it. They could blame DEI, or it's like a double. It's like a double. DEI will allow it to happen because the people just aren't competent to get the job done. And then they could say, oh, it's blame DEI. Go ahead. You guys can blame DEI. It's not our fault. Listen, blame that. We'll take that hit. All right. DEI is the problem, but they don't really care.
No, and it makes it easier, Jay, because let's say there's 10 Secret Service agents watching Trump, right? 5 of them are on the CIA payroll to be lax. The other 5 are DEI hires. That makes it pretty damn easy to get to Trump, even though he has 10 Secret Service agents.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the whole thing with the people on the payroll, that you don't want that many of them, because that's harder to hide. That could always come back and bite you. Somebody could always talk. They could slip through the cracks. Something could happen.
Trust me, once you get those threats, you ain't talking, man. Well, you got to see how these people are actually threatened.
You could always get a rogue whistleblower. We know that, right? Okay. But the more DEI you could get in, to me, the less risk you have with what I just said.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to have as many people on the payroll, because if the whole thing, if you have DEI everywhere, it's going to be incompetent everywhere. And we've seen it. We've seen flat out incompetence. It's on video. We've seen it.
That woman had the lock on her holster still on. She couldn't get the gun out because the holster lock was still on.
We saw that. Nobody on the roof because it was slanted. What idiot is making that decision? What moron is making that decision? What moron doesn't have that roof covered with at least a line of sight? Anything.
And Jay, it was the one roof that he just happened to choose, by the way.
Exactly. But I'm saying, right. I mean, that's what we're talking about. This is not, this isn't like crazy crackpot stuff. This is trying to put pieces together and understand how this is happening. People say, how did that happen? How did that guy run through a magnetometer? How was he in that hotel? How was he allowed to be in that hotel? How did he get into that hotel with weapons the day before the president of the United States was scheduled to be there? His whole cabinet was scheduled. How? Well, it could be a combination of both things, what we're talking about right now. DEI and quite possibly people on the payroll.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. It makes it easier for them. Like you said, it makes it easier for them to do things like that. In fact, let me show you a DEI hire that is, and when you have DEI hires, Jay, they cause significant damage to public trust and the criminal justice system in general. The criminal justice system is the worst place to have a DEI hire. But let me show you this. There is a woman. She is a Florida state attorney. She was backed by Soros because, he wants her in there. She's a Florida state attorney, Monique Worrell, and she has a history of giving sweetheart plea deals to murderers. Why, Jay? Because the more crime that is out there, the more criminals that are out there, the higher the crime rate. And the higher the crime rate, the more likely people are to be willing to accept communism if communism can stop the crime rate. That is the whole thing. If crime is so bad where 1 out of 5 people are being shot or murdered in your state, they're going to say, all right, look, capitalism is not working for us. It's obvious. That's why the crime rate is so high. So I'm a new governor. I am going to be a communist governor, but what I can promise you is with communism, I can get the crime rate down. So they vote him in. He gets the crime rate down. Before you know it, other governors show that they're communists. And before you know it, the entire country has a communist ideation. No longer capitalism. But I'm going to show you that's one of the reasons they do this. The other one is DEI incompetence. It makes it easier for them to get around things. But I want to show you this woman. She even gave a 4-year sentence to a man who was eligible for the death penalty. A 4-year sentence. Okay, so I'm going to show you her. I want you guys to take a listen to this.
This is Monique Worrell, a state attorney for the 9th Judicial Circuit of Florida. Under her tenure, dangerous and violent criminals have been given slaps on the wrist for their horrific offenses time and time again. For example, Marcus Anderson, who was indicted on first-degree murder and was eligible for the death sentence, had his charges downgraded by Worrell. Instead, he was only given 4 years in prison. Then there was Yaciel LeBron Flores, who stole a car and killed an
By the way, his name is LeBron. That's funny as shit.
innocent man in a crash that he caused. He took a plea deal from Worrell and will only serve less than 6 years in prison. Next is Julian Vincent, who is charged with 25 counts of possessing child sex abuse material.
25 counts of possessing child sexual abuse material.
Instead of 20 plus years in prison, he won't serve a single day thanks to Worrell.
He got no prison time for 25 counts of possession of child pornography and sexual abuse material.
Yeah,
Lastly,
ticking time
we have
bomb.
Savian Lambert, who carried out an armed carjacking and was given probation.
An armed carjacking and given probation. He was one person trying to grab his arm away from shooting them in the head.
While on probation, he went out again and allegedly killed a man.
You hear that? While
See,
he was
right-
on
hold on.
probation.
Yeah, stop right there.
Yeah.
That judge for that right there should be held criminally liable.
Well, it was actually the state attorney that recommended his sentence. You know, the
Criminally-
judge usually goes with whatever the state attorney needs.
Then the state attorney criminally liable.
Well, that's what we're talking about. Monique Worrell. She is a Soros-backed state attorney, and that's why they do this, so they will go out and commit more crimes. Take a listen.
Worrell's office is now trying to obtain a plea deal, which would result in a lesser sentence.
Now, did you hear what he just said? He said that, first of all, the guy was involved in an armed carjacking, and Worrell gave him a very low, if no sentence at all, I think. And then he went out and allegedly killed a man, and she's trying to get him a plea deal to get him a lesser sentence again.
Florida Attorney General James Uthmeyer has called out this woke state attorney, demanding for her to be held accountable and for her disregard for justice to end.
Monique Worrell's misjudgments are far too numerous, and her conduct is not beyond oversight by the state or the public.
He is a U.S. attorney that is actually calling out a Florida state attorney, which never happens. And that is something that needs to happen more often. But there's got to be accountability. See, Jay, remember when we talked on another episode about civilians being able to file criminal lawsuits?
Yeah.
There has to be something like that, because the authorities are not going to do anything to this woman. The not only are the authorities not going to do anything, but the process to get her out is impossible, and it can't be started by civilians. It has to be started by other people that are already either unelected bureaucrats or elected. So civilians cannot remove this woman. Even in the failure of her duties, none of the people that are elected or whatever are going to remove this woman, and she's not going to get criminal charges. So what happens? She stays there to continue to terrorize the community. Citizens have to have some recourse. There has to be an amendment to the Constitution or something where monetary lawsuits are not the only thing, because when you sue that Florida state attorney, it's not coming out of her pocket. That is just your tax money coming back to you. It's a waste of time. You need a civilian criminal lawsuit, so that way I can sue her. Let's say I believe she was negligent, right? Her allowing him probation for an armed carjacking was negligent homicide when he killed that man. That was negligent homicide. I am going to sue her for negligent homicide. And then what we do is we go in front of a judge, and the judge says, all right, you either did or you did not prove probable cause. And if he says, all right, you did prove probable cause, bailiff, take her away. Bail is set at whatever. She can pay the bail. And then, then the courts handle it from there, going on with the criminal charges. If you didn't prove probable cause, all right, you know what? Case dismissed. That's why you would have to pay some sort of a fee, because you can't just have, first of all, these kind of cases clogging up courts, and you can't have just, any crackpot taking out, criminal lawsuits on people. But that remedy has to be available to civilians, because otherwise nothing will ever change.
And these people are the same ones that want to take qualified immunity away from police officers. Think about that. Now, police officers,
Not judges, though. Not judges.
I'm just saying in general, that side of the aisle.
No. I'm saying they don't want to take the qualified immunity away from judges.
Yes, correct. Exactly. So police officers have to make split-second decisions on the street where sometimes things go wrong or they make a mistake because it's a split-second decision. Yep. These people get months, weeks and months to make these decisions.
Absolutely.
And they still get them wrong, and they still make the wrong ones, and their decisions are causing innocent people to lose their lives. That is the difference here. Anyone should be losing any protection. It's these people. It's judges, it's attorney, it's prosecutors. That's who. Because go ahead.
I was going to say, even if they lose the protections, all that's going to do is allow us to sue them civilly and get our tax money back. We've got to have a civilian criminal lawsuit.
Yeah, there has to be some kind of criminal. There has to be some kind of criminal remedy here, whether it's yours.
For civilians.
Yes, whether it's yours or whether there are laws passed that say if you do this, you could be held criminally liable. If somebody you release under, there has to be, let's say there's a threshold. Like the guy that did the carjacking. He was charged with obviously some kind of a serious felony for carjacking with a weapon, right?
Yeah.
If you release that person who committed a crime above a certain threshold and they go out and do something equal or worse, you are going to be held criminally responsible. So you better think carefully before you do
CJ,
it.
that's why we civilians have to have a remedy, because right there, even if they could be, there's going to be discretion, and they're never going to be held responsible by the authorities or by anyone that has power over them. Civilians like us have to, if we have the evidence, we have to, if we have the money to pay the fee, because we're using up court time and judge time and whatever, there has to be a civilian criminal lawsuit remedy. Civilians have to have a way to be able to bring criminal actions again. I guarantee you, Jay, if the country implemented a countrywide civilian criminal lawsuit, do you imagine overnight how much better this country will be? There'll probably be no more extortion from politicians. There'll probably be no more bribery from politicians, no more judges releasing criminals out into the world to go kill more people. No more prosecutors giving sweetheart deals. The criminal justice system would actually begin to function the way it should if civilians have a remedy to get these people charged with crimes that we know the authorities and anybody with power over them will not charge them with.
Why don't they just fill out a police report, Jack?
Because that does nothing. That does absolutely a police report. Wipe my ass with a police report. It does nothing. Okay, first of all, you fill out a police report, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to look into it. They're going to, because it's somebody of power. A district attorney. Oh yeah, we get these all the time. We're not going to look into that shit. Or they look into it and nothing will ever come out of it. You're not going to. A police officer is not going to charge a district attorney, a judge, based on one civilian say so. And they're not going to let you present evidence to go charge them. That's why you have to have the civilian criminal lawsuit. You have to. You can present evidence to show probable cause for this judge to charge this person.
Yeah, no, I said that because that's one of the pushback you got on your.
They said, well, why don't you just do a police report and take out a warrant? Well, first of all, you can't take out a warrant on these people. Second of all, if we allow that kind of thing, every crackpot, every jilted girlfriend, every ex that's angry at their ex is going to start taking out warrants and having people arrested. That's why it has to be a criminal civilian lawsuit where you have to present evidence before they're arrested and charged.
Yeah. Well, is it ever going to happen? Probably not.
No,
but it's definitely something that maybe once, maybe sometime soon, a politician could run on a platform that includes that. I don't know.
That would be, I would scream if a politician did that. I can promise to God, we would put up his shit on this show every single day until the election. We'd talk about him every single day. We would make sure that everybody we talked to heard about it, because that would be massive.
Yeah, you just have to think. I mean, it's definitely something to think about. You would have to think of maybe the unintended consequences, because everything has unintended consequences. Now, no matter how good of an idea it is, No, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm saying no matter how good an idea is, there's always unintended consequences. Now, are they ones that are tolerable? That's
Well,
what you
that's
have
why
to
I
think
said you
about.
have to have you can't just pick out the lawsuit for criminal. You have to have a fee. You have to be able to pay a fee, because obviously you can't just take out, a criminal lawsuit against anybody, because you're wasting the court's time and money. You have to have a fee, and then it's just a probable cause for arrest and charge. But in terms of, the only thing I could foresee is it being abused by rich people that have a lot of money and can pay the fee a lot. But even then, you're not going to be arrested and charged if they don't have the evidence. Okay, they still have to go to court and show evidence that there's probable cause to charge you with this.
What if you have to defend yourself?
What do you mean?
Like, okay, the people then, but I'm saying if you have a rich person that can just do this at will because they have unlimited money. What about the people that have to defend themselves against the charges?
Well, you would get first of all, you would get a public offender if you need one, or you can pay for your own lawyer. But the main thing is there are no charges at this point. You don't actually even need to really defend yourself, because they would have to have actual evidence of it would be like a probable cause hearing. You'd have to show actual evidence there's probable cause that a reasonable person could believe they committed this crime.
It's definitely something to think about, because something has to change, because it's just look at Irina Zarutska in North Carolina. I mean, talk about a prime example.
I would have sued the judge criminally.
That right there. That magistrate judge should be sued criminally. Absolutely. Absolutely. You allowed this person who just by their record is a danger to society, does not belong roaming the streets. And this happened to this girl.
14 times she released him.
You should be charged.
I would sue her criminally for negligent homicide.
Absolutely. 100%. That's the remedy. I don't know.
I hope we can get a politician. I'm going to bring that up to Tim Burchett next time he's on the show, because it would be great if we had a politician get behind this, or even Trump, sign an executive order. That would be absolutely awesome. But Jay, real quick, I want to talk about our sponsor, maxassociates.etsy.com. You can scan the QR code in the top right. They are the #1 place for USA Pride gifts and patriotic apparel. The 250th anniversary of the United States is a month and a half away. You do not want to be left out in the cold. You do not want to be one of the few people that does not have patriotic apparel and gifts to have and to show off to everybody. maxassociates.etsy.com is the place to go. They're always getting in new stuff, like this awesome shirt, We the People, and it shows the 250th anniversary, or Proud Veteran, Once a Warrior, Always a Warrior, unapologetically patriotic. I love that. Freedom over fear. Even the hat, We the People, and then America First. These are the kinds of things that you need, and Max Associates is the best place to get it. Tell them why, Jay.
It's the best place to get it because it's 20% off everything over $20, free shipping throughout the United States. You got Father's Day coming up, America's 250th anniversary. It is the time to go on maxassociates.etsy.com and start picking up some of the greatest stuff. Look at it. Shirts, bags, mugs, cell phone covers, flags, whatever you want. And Jack just showed you so many great examples of patriotic apparel that speaks specifically to who you are.
Absolutely. All right, guys, make sure you follow us on X, YouTube, Rumble, Kick, and Instagram. We are at Secret America TV. It's the same screen name for every single one of those. Jay is on TikTok. We are not, because TikTok banned us for telling the truth. Jay is on TikTok at Apinions Varies. That's Apinions with an A. But you can get us on any other social media at Secret America TV. We are live every weekday, Monday through Friday, at 7 p.m. Eastern till 8 p.m. Eastern. Sometimes we have special episodes where they might be 2 hours long because, we got a great guest or whatever it is. Jay, you got anything you want to say real quick before we go?
Real quick, keep your eyes on John Thune. He came out again today, and apparently John Thune just can't get it done, Jack. He doesn't have the votes for the Save America Act. He can't get rid of the filibuster. Well, I say we need to get somebody in that position who can.
Absolutely. And that's why we were talking about John Thune stabbing him in the back. Real quick, before we go, though, I want to say there is something out there, Jay. It's called the Fountain of Youth. Believe it or not, it just reset aging in mice, and it has been cleared for human trials. It actually reversed age-related vision loss in mice. It actually reduced wrinkles and other age-related anomalies of the face, and it did all these things in animals, and now it is going for human trials. It is the actual fountain of youth, where they have found how they can actually make cells that have aged and were dying actually reverse their aging and go back to the beginning of the process, which can, and again, it made those mice no longer have the vision problems. It actually reduced wrinkles and everything. It made them younger. And as we go on and this becomes more refined, it's going to be spectacular to see what it does, Jay. It's going to be amazing. That's why I love showing people this kind of stuff. But for Jay Gatling, I am Jack Danger. Thank you for watching Secret America.
You've been listening to Secret America.